Warmind cells. First of all, if you haven't seen my last two videos about armor and mods and don't know the basics of build crafting in Destiny, please go take a look at those videos before this video. Thank you. With that out of the way, we're taking a look at the second of three types of combat style mods. This time we're looking at another versatile set of mods that are primarily used for clearing groups of low tier enemies and also has some utility that will be covered in the future. Let's get on with the basics. Warmind cell mods exist under Arc, Solar, and Void affinities just as the Charge with Light mods do. But the precursor to activating these mods is using 7th Seraph or Ikelos themed weapons. These weapons include 7th Seraph Carbine and the 7th Seraph Officer Revolver in the kinetic slot, the Ikelos Hand Cannon, the Ikelos SMG, the 7th Seraph VY7, the 7th Seraph SI2, 7th Seraph CQC, Ikelos Shotgun, and the Ikelos Sniper Rifle in the energy slot, and the 7th Seraph Saw in the power slot. It's worth noting here that using any weapon with a damage over time effect, or weapons that can deal damage after swapping away from it, can also trigger that effect of using the Warmind cell mods. This includes but is not limited to things like Anarchy, Witherhoard, and Lasting Impression rockets. Here's a quick example of what it looks like to make Warmind cells with different methods. After creating a Warmind cell, it'll expire after 20 seconds unless it is destroyed or otherwise. Now we've discussed the trigger conditions, let's talk about the mods themselves and their effects. First up, the best cell mod that can apply across the board to all affinities, Global Reach. Global Reach extends the distance at which Warmind cells affect and damage targets. Here's about how much range a Warmind cell has before Global Reach. And here's how much distance it covers with Global Reach. The difference is massive, and for 1 energy it is a must-have for any Warmind cell build, 10 out of 10. So now we're on to the affinities, and we have solar mods. First up is Light of Fire. Rapid Warmind cell kills generate an orb of power. Here's what that looks like. For 4 energy and the already overprominence of Orbs of Power, this is a pretty weak Warmind cell mod. I say I've only ever used it to make this video. It seems pretty useless, 1 out of 10. Next we have Burning Cells. Destroying a Warmind cell creates a burst of solar energy that burns enemies over time. Here's what that one looks like. For 3 energy, this mod is definitely not bad. It allows the cells to cleanly burn enemies, and that combos with Bottom Tree Dawnblade and Dawn Chorus, Bottom Tree Sunbreaker and Path of the Burning Steps or Phoenix Cradle, Middle Tree Gunslinger, something like Foe Tracer since solar exotics suck on the Hunter, but it's a good mod for ad clearings and having solar specific builds. 6 out of 10. Next in line is Wrath of Rasputin. Solar splash damage has the chance to generate a Warmind cell. Here's what that looks like. For 1 energy, this mod is insanely good. It combos with solar subclasses, grenades, weapons like Empty Vessel, Heathen Vengeance, Outrageous Fortune, Xenophage, Sunshot, Polaris Lance, Jotun, Taiku's Divination, the second rocket of Two-Tailed Fox, 1K Voice has Eyes of Tomorrow. It's insane. This mod also combos with other Warmind cell mods that will be discussed coming up. This mod is a 10 out of 10 recommend for all solar builds. Following that, we have Fireteam Medic. This mod creates a burst of healing for you and your allies after destroying a cell. Here's what that looks like. For 3 energy, this is a very solid mod. It helps a lot in higher level content for keeping you and the team alive. And for the only dedicated healing class in the game of Middle Tree Dawnblade, this mod triggers Benevolent Dawn and keeps your abilities charging for free. 7 out of 10. Alright, for our second to last solar mod, we have Rage of the Warmind. This mod converts the normal explosion of the Warmind cell into a solar explosion with extra damage. Here's a side by side of that. And this mod is a must-have alongside Wrath of Rasputin, as it also counts as solar splash damage and allows you to loop Warmind cells by killing enemies with Warmind cells. However, without Wrath and the cost of 5 energy, it's hard for this mod to stand alone at 7 out of 10. And for our last solar mod, we have Incinerating Light. If multiple enemies are killed by the explosion of a Warmind cell, you become charged with light. Here's how that works. I can see this mod being moderately useful in a crossover build, but in order to make the most out of it, you have to engage in trade-offs, such as having to use the 7th Seraph or Ikelos weapons or Wrath of Rasputin to even make the cells. And then with Global Reach to maximize the odds of getting multi-kills, you're already burning 2 or 3 mod slots or using a specific archetype of weapons. You might as well just stick to the Warmind cells instead of hybrid building Charge with Light or vice versa. This is a criticism I'll repeat for Arc and Void hybrid mods as well. However, I still have some theory builds sitting at the end that engage in this hybrid play anyway, just to show that even though it's not the most optimal thing, it can still be fun, effective, and creative. 5 out of 10. Right now, going on to the Arc mods, we first have Blessing of Rasputin. Collecting a Warmind cell gives you an increased odds of creating another Warmind cell with the 7th Seraph or Ikelos weapon. Here's a side by side of that. This mod isn't bad for 2 energy, but I can't say there's a lot of moments where I find myself actually picking up the Warmind cell instead of just shooting it. However, they do fit in a niche where at the end of clearing a room, sometimes there's one lying around, you can collect it to make the clearing of the next room easier. 4 out of 10. Second, we have Modular Lightning. Collecting a Warmind cell creates a burst of chaining arc energy around you. Here's what that looks like. For 3 energy, I've never really used this mod all that much, but it does seem to add a bit to the ad clearing effects of the Warmind cells. It's pretty much up to you on this one. I also tested some exotics to see if I can get a good pairing, but it seems as though Trinity Ghoul is the only thing that benefits from this Warmind cell mod. Neither Mantle of Battle Harmony or Crown of Tempest activated their perks from this cell, so I would assume none of the other exotic pieces of armor really work either. Alright, third is Strength of Rasputin. Collecting a Warmind cell gives you melee energy. Here's how much that is. This mod isn't terrible in standalone, but in combo with other Warmind cell mods, exotics, and Charged with Light mods, you can make a pretty sick melee build. 6 out of 10. Alright, next we have Sheltering Energy. Collecting a Warmind cell gives you an overshield. Here's how much that is. For 5 energy, overshields are never a bad thing. The problem is sometimes your cell gets made far away from you and collecting isn't that easy. But for the most part, this is a pretty good mod, but it's also worth noting that if you get hit on the collection of the cell, your shield pretty much goes away. And also, if your overshield gets depleted, you can regenerate the overshield as long as you have that shielded buff active. 7 out of 10. Alright, our second to last arc mod is Chosen of the Warmind. Collecting a warmind cell creates a blast that pushes enemies back. Here's what that looks like. For 1 energy, this isn't a go-to mod or anything, but definitely could see it being run if you got the extra slot when the rest of your build is already made. It's a pretty 3 out of 10 mod. It also looks funny. Alright, lastly we have Warmind's Light. Collecting a warmind cell charges you with light. Here's how that works. On its own, obviously this mod kind of sucks still, but when paired with other warmind cell mods and charged with light mods, this can lead to some incredible build crafting you'll see later in the video. Same criticism from earlier still holds up though, 5 out of 10. Alright, now into the Void Warmind cell mods. First up we have Grasp of the Warmind. This mod allows you to take a warmind cell, pick it up, and throw it somewhere else. After that first time you throw it, it can't be picked up again. Here's how that looks. For 3 energy, this mod stands in direct conflict with the arc mods, however getting the ability to reposition the cells for other effects in the void or solar categories can be super effective in high level content. Otherwise it seems pretty inconvenient to go for these throws. 6 out of 10. Next up we have Cellular Suppression. With the cooldown between each burst, dealing damage to a cell creates a blinding burst of void energy. This mod also makes you deal less damage to the cells so you can keep reapplying the blindness. Here's how that looks. This mod is very effective even for 4 energy. Blinding big groups in high level content without having to burn a Titan grenade or using a grenade launcher can be very useful for the survivability of you and your team. A downside is that this mod works in conflict with the solar mods because of the extra health the warmind cells get while using this, making the explosion effect harder to trigger, but it's still a 9 out of 10 overall. Next we have Power of Rasputin. Enemies nearby warmind cells take 10% more damage. This damage boost is special and will stack with all other sources of damage boost such as weapon perks, player buffs like Weapons of Light, and debuffs like the Tether. Here's the side by side. Any enemies glowing orange means that they are affected by this mod, and the fact that it stacks is an incredible buff to have for the team, alongside Grasp where you can reposition this buff and makes this mod incredibly powerful at 4 energy, 9 out of 10. Next we have Warmind's Protection. This mod reduces all incoming damage of enemies near the warmind cell by 50% and stacks multiplicatively with other damage reducers. Here's the side by side. This is very similar to Power of Rasputin in the sense that having the extra protection works really well on the high level content. Being able to reposition this and stack it with other debuffs and buffs makes it incredibly strong. All for 2 energy, it's pretty insane. 10 out of 10. Our second to last Void mod is Warmind's Longevity. This mod increases the length of warmind cell duration from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. Here's that side-by-side comparison. On its own, this mod kinda sucks, but when combined with the other Void Warmind cell mods, you can create a sick combo of Warmind cells that can blind, weaken, and nerf enemies that can be repositioned as well. Alone, it's a 2 out of 10, but when comboed, it's an 8 out of 10. Right, our last mod is Light from Darkness. Defeating multiple enemies near a Warmind cell gives you a charge of light. Here's how to do it. The same critiques as the other Warmind cell charge with light hybrid mods, but I think this one is particularly weaker since you don't really get to use the Warmind cell to actually do it. And there are far more effective ways of getting charged with light stacks. I think this is a 2 out of 10. You should never use this mod to get charged. Alright, now that we've talked about all of the potential mods that you can be using for Warmind cells, I'm going to talk about some strong examples that I like to use for Warmind cell builds. My first one is Rage of the Warmind, plus Wrath of Rasputin, plus Fireteam Medic, plus Global Reach, plus Burning Cells for maximum solar damage and cell looping. This pairs with Middle Tree Gunslinger, all trees of Dawnblade, with either Dawn Chorus or Sunbraces or Starfire or Phoenix Protocol, all Titan trees with Burning Steps, but also Bottom Tree Sunbreaker with Phoenix Cradles, Hellfire, or Kepri's Horn. Next we have Cell Suppression, plus Grasp of the Warmind, plus Warmind's Protection, plus Warmind's Longevity or Power of Rasputin, plus Global Reach for maximum blinding and damage reducing ability, and repositioning cells for new groups. Works well on all trees, especially Shadow Shot and suppressing Titans with blinding grenade launchers. I'm going to talk about two builds that are hybrid examples of Warmind Cell and Charge with Light builds. So the first one I have is Incinerating Light or Warmind's Light, plus Wrath of Rasputin, plus Rage of the Warmind, plus Global Reach, and then Heavy-Handed Charge with Light mod. So top tree Dawnblade's melee Celestial Fire counts as solar splash damage, so I would assume the Explosive Knife on the Hunter also counts as this. Pairing this with Wrath of Rasputin, Heavy-Handed, and Rage and Incinerating Light or Warmind's Light allows you to loop melee energy and Warmind cells for clearing adds effectively from a distance. Alright, and then the last build I have for you to play around with is Warmind's Light, plus Wrath or Blessing of Rasputin, Strength of Rasputin, plus Heavy-Handed, plus Sheltering Light. Another melee build particularly good for Celestial Fire with Wrath, but also works on general melee stuff with Blessing that can pair with something like Doomfang Mark 44, or Immos Lightwell, Claws or Sunbracers or Fellwinter's Helm on the Warlock, Arthur's Embrace, Assassin's Cowl or Kepri's Sting on the Hunter. And with that, we've reached the end of another armor video. For the current season of the Splicer, there's only one type of combat style mod left, and that's Elemental Wells, which are probably just as complex as Warmind cells. In the meantime, take a look at my previous videos for entertainment, information, or opinions, like me up, check out the links in the description, and don't forget to subscribe. Later.